Hi there. I want to talk today about the difference between respect and trust. And not even as much as the difference, because I think most people understand the difference, but want to talk about how they are differently applied in different situations. I've been hearing a lot of mention lately, especially about respect, and different people have different concepts and appreciations of respect, and when to give it to others and when it should be applied or not, and even what it means. I believe that respect has different meanings for different people, and perhaps that is just a fundamental difference of primary, secondary meanings of respect. For me, a primary meaning of respect is how you are treating someone, the authority that you're giving that person to be who they are, and acknowledging them for who they are. That is how I see that fundamental definition of respect. I respect who you are. That means I'm acknowledging that you have the right to be who you are. A lot of times we use the word respect in a sense of, I really respect that person. I look up to that person. And to me, that's more admiration, in my opinion, of, I really respect that person. They do really good things in the community, or, they really treat people well. I have a lot of respect for them. Like that, obviously is another way we use respect. I see that as a secondary way of using respect. One that is very closely linked to admiration, how you admire someone and what they do. But that primary definition, that primary way of how we define respect, and I respect your decisions, to me is about me acknowledging you have the right to be who you are and do what you want to do with yourself. And so that to me is something that we all deserve. We all deserve a level of respect to be who we are, to be accepted as who we are. And we all deserve a level of respect to be treated equally to others. So regardless of what I decide to do with myself should not alter how you treat me as an individual. You should still have a certain level of respect for me. And similarly goes as I am treating other people, whether they believe what I believe, have the same values that I have or not, whether they do what I choose to do or not, I still should have a level of respect for them as being equal to me. I'm not better than them. They're not better than me. We just have different choices. And so there should be a fundamental level of respecting those different choices and different ways of being. That to me is very different from trust. Like, my goal is to respect everyone. I want to respect the stranger. I want to respect the person who's in a different country, as well as, of course, the person who's standing next to me. Now, trust is a completely different ballgame. And a lot of times, especially when we're in relationships, and they could be all different types of relationships. It could be familial relationships, work relationships, personal relationships. And in those relationships, there is this level of trust that is expected. And so we want to give trust in relationships, and we also want to receive trust. And this is when I say we want to, obviously that's in ideal situations. But sometimes trust isn't given, and sometimes it's not received. And if we be honest, sometimes it's not even deserved. So there's two different fundamental types of trust. And Stephen Covey actually digs deeply into this, and he references them in his model as character trust and competence trust. So the character trust is, I'm trusting that you have good intentions by me. I'm trusting you're going to do right by me, the best that you can. I'm trusting, for example, you're going to tell me the truth. I'm trusting you're not going to lie to me. I'm trusting that you're going to give me advice that you think is going to benefit me. I'm trusting that you want what is best for me. That's that character competence. I'm trusting that you're going to do what is right. The difference between character competence. Now we're going to talk, character trust. The difference between character trust and competence trust. That competence trust is now dealing with more of your abilities. Can I trust you? You said you're going to cook a great dinner. You're going to make a fabulous sweet potato souffle. Now, I might trust your character in that you're going to do your best to make a fabulous sweet potato souffle, but I might not trust your competence. I might think, well, gee, I've never seen you make sweet potato souffle. And when I've seen you make things with sweet potatoes, it didn't come out quite right. So I'm not there yet with the competence trust. And so those are the two different types of trust, that I like to use based upon the Covey's model, and that is the character trust and the competence trust. And a lot of times we're talking about character trust, when we talk about relationships that are personal. Someone might say, I can't trust you. You might say, you don't trust me. Why don't you trust me? So a lot of times we're thinking from that perspective of the character. And so that's why a lot of times we feel offended when we don't have the trust from the other person. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the character trust. We're offended because we take it in, receive it as being about our character, when it's really more about our competence. And as we know, we all have different competencies that we're strong in, and we all, quite frankly, deserve different levels of competence trust from one another, depending on the context. Because in one context, you're going to be brilliant, you're going to be a star, and in another context, you're not going to be so great. And that's just the reality, because there's no star that shines in every sky, even though that may be, contrary to what we see. But for sure, it's not that case. So when we're looking at each other from the perspective of whether or not we should receive trust in a situation, we can't always look at it based upon who we are. We also have to look at it based upon who is the person that we're dealing with. And they have to decide why they should trust you or me or whomever or not. And that's going to be based upon a lot of different factors for them, the same as they are for you, consciously or subconsciously. So first and foremost, we talked about the character trust. And so of course they're looking at whether or not they trust your character, whether or not they trust your competence, but they're also looking at whether or not they trust their experiences. So they may have had experience. So, they may have experiences that you have not been in, and that is having a significant influence on how much they're able to trust you or anyone. They might have had experiences with other people in relationships that may look like you, may talk like you, or may look nothing like you, but it just is the fact that last time they were in this situation, it didn't work out so well. And so a lot of times the trust has to do with their own experiences, whether or not they're going to render trust to you. Another factor other than experience, whether or not they're going to render trust to you, is standards, is expectations. What you think that person should deserve or that you plan to give may not be the standard that they have in mind. And so while you have the best of intentions, and they may have the best of intentions for you, your standards may be different. And so that can go into the character or the competence trust, because you might say, I'm going to do right by you. And from your perspective, doing right, what that means by your perspective, you're being honest. But that person's standard is up here, and and what you want to give is here. And so you have a disconnect. So it's not that they don't trust you as an individual to be who you are. They don't trust you to give them what they need. And so that's another component of trust. And so that's another reason why we really should not internalize someone else's distrust, because it's not about you. It's a 50-50. It's about their experiences. It's about their standards. And it's about their level of readiness to give that to you or anyone. So trust is something that has to be earned, while respect is something that everyone should receive. At least that primary definition of respect. We all should receive respect. But trust is something that we all should be required to earn by other people. And when I say earn, I use that in a very specific way. It does not mean that, well, because you have to earn my trust, that you're less than me, or, okay, you can't earn my trust until, you qualify. What it means is that earning is really more alignment. It's more alignment that your output is consistent with what I want my input to be, from a standard perspective, from a relationship perspective, understanding and agreement. And then, from, quite frankly, do I trust the character and the competence? But it's not just that. So there's an alignment that has to happen with trust that goes far beyond what someone is doing to you or what you're doing to them. It's about it's about an alignment that is unseen, an agreement of standards, an agreement of timing. It's about experiences, past experiences. So next time you feel like someone's not trusting you, don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. It means that either it's not the right timing, it's not the right alignment and standards of expectations. It's the wrong receiver. Sometimes it's the wrong receiver. Sometimes you're just not going to have that opportunity to serve that person or whatever the situation is, to interact with them on that level, because they're not giving you the trust. And that's just a reality. The trust is not meant for every relationship. Just as God says to guard your heart. That's specifically saying we all have the right. We all have the right to reserve trust as a privilege. There's 8 billion people on earth, and it shouldn't be a situation where anyone should be offended because they're not being trusted, because there's all of these other people who can trust them and may trust them. And it's all these other people also who have the prerogative to trust or not trust. And so trust is a gift. It can be a gift if that is what you want from someone. It can be a gift to receive or to give it. But as we know, all gifts are optional. There are no required gifts. So I don't have to give you trust. I don't have to look for your trust. And you don't have to give someone trust, the same as you don't have to fight for anyone else's trust. You don't have to earn anyone else's trust. You could not care. So your effort in earning someone's trust is up to you. And that's the powerful part about it. Like this whole trust dynamic, there are two people, and maybe more, depending on the dynamic, but in a standard relationship, there are two people, and both have equal amounts of power. There's the one who decides whether or not to trust, and there's the other person who is deciding, one, whether or not to make an effort to earn trust, and two, whether or not it's worth the wait, to earn that trust. And so while both parties are powerful, neither should be offended. Neither should be offended by the decision, or someone is going to say, it's not worth the wait for me to earn this trust. This person is not worth the wait for me to earn this trust. This relationship isn't worth the wait for me to earn this trust. This trust. This relationship isn't worth the effort for me to earn this trust. And then the other person might say, you know what? This person isn't worthy of my trust. I don't think I'm ever going to be comfortable making this person worthy of my trust. And so regardless of what end the person is on, they both have equal justification in their decision. And that goes back to the respect, right? Because we're respecting both of them to make that choice. Respecting that person, if they want to spend 10 years working to earn that trust, that's their choice. Whereas if they say, I'm not going to spend another 5 minutes working to earn that person's trust in that relationship, that's also their trust, their choice. I think tongue twisted tonight. And vice versa. So that's an interesting, perspective, I think, of respect and trust and how we use them, and just looking at relationships as just really these voluntary dynamic interactions. That's not about control. It's not about control. When we realize we have no control over anyone else, no logical control over anyone else, it's liberating. It's liberating for ourselves. It's liberating for the other people. And that's how we truly respect people. Like we say we respect everyone, but until we're able to really acknowledge, and give honor even to the decisions that everyone makes for themselves, not on others, but acknowledge and give honor to the decisions that everyone makes for themselves. That is when we're actually respecting who and what people are. It's not about you being aligned with them, connected with them. That's when you're going closer to trust. But acknowledging you have the right to do what you want to do, I have the right to do what I want to do, and honoring that. And that's the beauty. Like, God has given us all self-will, and it's such a gift. It's such a gift if we use it the way that we are supposed